Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Strategic Sales Queens Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn, and today I'm joined by my wonderful guest, Nicole Stoutlow. We're going to be
I
talking. We're going to be talking about 101 ways to keep your staff motivated and engaged. The benefits of benefits. I think we both got distracted there, going in the background. Anyway, I know that for many of you, you could be struggling to motivate your staff. I mean, right now when we're recording this, it's summer. There's a whole bunch of distractions, right? But if you're looking to engage your team so they're productive, driven, and truly care about your clients, finding creative, fun, and even free tools to motivate your staff can increase your bottom line, help you attract and retain key employees, and improve productivity. And Gladys is going to be sharing practical ideas that you can implement right away at any budget. And I am so excited for her to share her wisdom with you. And if you have loved this show, you love the episode, I invite you to subscribe and to give us those 5-star reviews. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit about Gladys. I've had the pleasure and honor of knowing Gladys for some time now. She is a visionary consultant who helps business owners attract, retain quality staff through flexible employee benefits and creative engagement strategies. With an MBA in international business and leadership and management, she brings heart and strategy to helping companies become top leaders. Gladys is also an award-winning author and certified coach who's passionate about building workplaces people love. And Gladys, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show today. Welcome.
thank you so much for having me, Lynn. When you asked me to be on your podcast, I was thrilled. I was like, yes, let's do this. And then, of course, I took a really bad fall right around like 2 days before our podcast, and I was not looking my best. So thank you for adjusting the schedule to help me heal from all the scars I had after that fall during my half marathon.
Well, no one would ever know it. You look fabulous. And I'm so excited that you're here today. So let's cover this first thing because I always am interested in sort of the backstory about what inspired you to start helping business owners motivate and retain their staff.
Well, I was in corporate America for most of my career, truly. And when I moved to Texas, I my mom and I. My mom was with me part time, but then with my sister part time, so she was going back and forth from California to Texas. And then when I moved to Oregon, I drove 11 hours from Texas to LA to pick her up. Actually, I got sick before I picked her up and got over that. Picked her up, went to Northern California for a couple of days to visit with a friend, and then another 12 hours later was in Oregon at the end of September of 2011. My mom's health had been declining. She was on dialysis, had a lot of other health issues. And so to take her to appointments, take her to dialysis, and to try to get on interviews was the hardest thing to try to adjust it. And it was always, well, I need to stay close to home because I never know when I have to go pick her up or whatever it was. And some employers were like, yeah, we get it. And they're telling me yes, but I'm thinking if I was the employer, I'd be going, how often is she going to be gone? And then they were thinking FMLA, all the things. And I'm thinking, how can I get my work done and take care of mom? So I got into the health insurance side of things, and at the time it was supplemental, but it was 2013 at this point, and the Affordable Care Act was coming on, and I'm like, oh, that I can do. That sounds like fun. I can enjoy that. And so I got certified through Cover California, or not California, Cover Oregon at the time. And so we were on Cover Oregon for a couple of years before we went on to the platform. That's the federally facilitated marketplace. And I started doing that. And I started by, I was just telling the story to another agent. I said, I partnered with a couple of nonprofits, but one of them more than anybody else. They were doing enrollment events, and they invited me. Can you help? Can you help? So I was helping, and most of them were Medicaid eligible. That was September, October, November of 2013. And then my boss at the time said, You're not making any money. I said, I will. I said, if I do the right things, the money will come. And in December, they called me back and they said, we can't help these individuals because they're not Medicaid. Can you help them? And I was like, yeah. So from May of 2013 or December of 2013 to May of 2014, I was at that nonprofit every day. And they had a desk for me. They were putting individuals on my calendar. You would think that I lived there. I had my visitor badge, but people thought that I worked there. They're like, oh, they gave me the code to close up when I was like, oh, no, I'm never going to be here with nobody else. But I built a relationship with the nonprofit. I built a relationship with those clients. And then some of them had small businesses. And so from there, I went on to doing small businesses as well as life insurance. So that was kind of the steps I took. But I still have a lot of my clients from 2013 that to this day, individually, I still take care of their health insurance. Some of them have gone on to Medicare. And so I have my Medicare agents I send them to. Some of them have started businesses or have closed their businesses. But it's being able to help. And I realize that I get to educate and I get to help people and I get to do it through insurance. And that's the reason why I continued. I was able to work on around my mom's schedule. So everything was around mom. It's like, okay, I'd get up at 4:30, take care of her, get her out the door to dialysis, come back, get a little bit of work done. Well, get ready, get work done. She'd come home again, mom, and then get work done. It was like this whole schedule around my mom's schedule. So it was truly her that got me into the insurance side of things and being able to appreciate the time with her because I would take her with me to appointments. It's like, okay, sometimes I'd leave her in the car all bundled up because it was pouring down rain. Other times at a coffee shop, I'd situate her with the pastry and some tea while I took care of clients over here. So she was part of my business life, and a lot of my clients, when she passed away, they knew her, and they're like, "How's mom doing?" And the year before, everything went to audio because I couldn't be out as much because her health. And then the following year, when she passed away, a lot of my clients just they knew her, and they're like, "Oh." And so it was just kind of touching that people remembered her so well, and she was just there. But I continued on, and I started it because of flexibility, but I continued because I get to educate and help others. And when you show staff how much you care, they're going to stick around. And that's as when I was in leadership, I was a manager, supervisor, team lead. I had very loyal staff because I was loyal to them. They were loyal to me. We protected each other. Nobody was allowed to touch my staff or yell at them. Only me, and only if they really messed up. And it was a whole process. So I understand both sides of the spectrum, and it's been fun. It really has.
Yeah. Sort of touched on it there, and I'm so glad you shared the story with your mom and how it really was that guiding light to get you started, and then you discovered a love for the business. But what's the main problem you help solve for business owners?
A lot of employers are finding it hard to attract and retain staff. It's like can't find staff or can't find staff that will stay,
Yeah.
or they realize that staff is leaving to another business because the other business is providing them benefits. Now benefits is expected. Before it was a luxury. And even though employers are not required, if they have less than 50 employees, they are not required to provide benefits. They're not by law. They don't have to. They can opt out and say, no, thank you. But those employers that do, they're going to have an edge over other employers that don't. What I have seen is that the employers that I've been helping, they have increased either staff or increased their revenue. Because I have one employer that has increased their benefits, and the business has grown. Staff is the same, about 33 or 35 staff, but their revenue has increased because they're providing the benefits. They take care of their staff. And by taking care of their staff stays. The other employer, when I first started helping them back in 2020, they had 6 employees, including the 2 owners. They now have over 100 employees. And so they have been taking care of their staff, providing them the benefits, increasing their benefits over time, a little bit at a time. First the health, then the dental, then life insurance, and then the retirement planning, reimbursements for their health care. So there's been a lot that they do, and their staff stays. So that's the other thing that I've noticed is that there's not as much turnover. And some employees, after they leave, they come back. So
Yeah.
it's really those employers that focus on their employees are the ones that are retaining, that are attracting, and they're just that's a way of rewarding their staff. So that's really what I solve is that opportunity to keep their staff for as long as they can keep them and keeping those good people around.
Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, you talk about 101 creative ways to show appreciation. And I'd love to have you share a few simple examples that any
Absolutely.
business could start using right away.
Something that's absolutely free. Spend time
Yep.
with your staff. Just give them your time. Go for a walk with them. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's go for a walk. One thing that I used to do with my team when I was in Southern California is that every like 3 months, we would take an extended lunch. So instead of half hour, we do 45 minutes or an hour. And I would go pick up chicken. Somebody else would bring iced tea or sodas or what have you. And we would walk or drive because there's a park that was really close. So depending on the heat, we would sometimes drive over to the local park and it cost us very little. We would spend time together, we would eat, and then we'd get on the swings, and then we'd come back to work. Sometimes we'd go to the local driving range that at the time was like $5 to hit a bucket of balls, 15 minutes, and then go back to the office. But just sometimes time with the boss, we would walk down to get coffee, and we would just talk about whatever the day. This is what we have for the day. I was the team lead at the time, and she would give me that time. It's like, let's go get coffee. Sure. And we would have that conversation, and I would teach my team leads when I had one to do the same. Just grab me, walk with me. We would have another thing that was very inexpensive. We would have 15 minutes of fun, and the 15 minutes of fun, I started it, and then then had each one of them do whatever it was, whether it was we would have crazy sock day, and we would block off our area and put cones so nobody would come in. They could walk around, but we were in socks, so we'd kick off our shoes, put our fun socks on, and then for 15 minutes just come together and talk about why we picked the socks or what's fun about them, and just chat. One time somebody decided we were going to watch cartoons, and another time somebody said we're going to take a nap I was in Texas. So we closed our doors, put do not disturb, turned off the lights. People brought their blankies and their pillows, and we took a 15-minute nap. And that was just the environment, the culture that I had, that we had built as a team. Sometimes somebody would get frustrated, and there's a beach ball that would start flying, and then push it away, keep and then after 5-10 minutes, they'd go back to work. I didn't care, because if they needed 5-10 minutes of chill time to distract them, to get them to focus, it was worth the 5-10 minutes. So those are free things or very inexpensive things that as leaders we can do for our staff. It doesn't cost much. And so the book 101 Creative Ways to Attract and Retain Quality Staff, there's 101 different ways. And health insurance is one of them. Life insurance, 401ks, 403bs, those are your traditional benefits. But then there's the ones that you are building culture, that's spending time together. That's huge. You have expensive things like a car allowance. They might have a company credit card. Things of that nature. Yeah, that's going to cost more. Absolutely. You don't have to go that route. Sometimes swag. People are so proud to wear the swag from their business: hats, T-shirts, polo shirts, shirts that have the logo on the blazer. Things of that nature are very inexpensive, but it shows the pride that they take in the company that they work for. And then there's also going to golf with the boss, or mini golf. If people don't golf, then mini golf sometimes. Lunch, healthy snacks in the break room. Little things like that. I would call it, sometimes it was a snow day in the middle of summer. It's like take the rest of the afternoon off because it was going to be super hot, or we knew that it was going to be a lot of traffic. We'd give them 1 or 2 hours of just go ahead, go home, spend time with family, and they'd get paid for that 1 or 2 hours. So things of like that, um, employees appreciate because it's like you're showing, hey, I care for you, and they're going to work hard for you because you take care of them.
Yeah. There's so many great ideas and gems in there. I'm curious because what we have in the environment and the culture today. Why is keeping staff motivated such a challenge for so many businesses?
Yeah. It is very challenging, and depends on the type of business that they're in. If you're retail, I mean, that's a lot of hard work. You have to be smiling and having a process that you're following, that you're always saying hello to people. And I would tell my staff because I was call center at one point, and I would tell them, you can be as upset as you want with the caller. Absolutely, I'm not saying don't be upset because sometimes they're demanding, mean, rude, and if they did get to the point of rude, then I would get on the line because that was unacceptable. And they had the okay to say, please do not use foul language, or I will hang up on you. And I would hear them say it, and they would say it a second time, and they'd say the next time I will hang up on you, and then they would hang up on them, and they'd say, Miss Gladys, I hung up on them. They go document it, but it was that protection of them that it was okay, but here's the but. It was they can never know that you were upset with them. Ever. Be upset after you've hung up. Come vent with me. Tell me how wrong they were and how they made you feel. Cry if you want to. I don't care. But when you're on that phone, they will never know how upset you are. Ever. And so they had a little mirror and they just smile and go, oh, this doesn't feel good. But just the mere fact that they were smiling, that would make them sometimes kind of calm down from being upset. But it was acknowledging the feelings and letting them know that it's okay. But just don't take it out on that person. They might be having a bad day. It was garnishment, so maybe their either their wages got garnished or they haven't received a garnishment payment, so they're upset for good reason. So how do we help them through it? Let's find a solution. It's always about finding solutions and not taking it out on them. Come yell at me. I'm okay. I'll tolerate it. So that's something that we can all, and it's harder to do when you're in front of the person than when you're on the call. Because once you hang up, you can go. But still finding those ways to unwind and get it out without taking it out on the other, either on coworkers. You don't want to do that, or on clients. Definitely don't want to do that. But touching base with the staff, making sure, are they okay? Do they have what they need? Looking at the cues, looking at, okay, this person isn't their normal peppy self. What's going on? Asking the questions. And sometimes they'll say, I'm fine. But the sheer fact that you asked sometimes makes a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it shows that you're interested in them, or what's going on in their life, human beings. So that's really good advice. So, Gladys, do you think staff motivation is often a blind spot for leaders and business owners?
I think that it's because they think they're getting paid to do the job. And that's their thought. You're getting paid however, whatever per hour or yearly, whatever it is. And so their thought is you're getting paid to do this job, which is fine. But then they don't understand why people come and go. And a lot of times, employees will leave a job that they love because they can't stand their boss.
Yeah.
I was one of those. I was one of those. Loved my job. I did international credit and collections. Loved it. My boss was just so bad, and I was constantly complaining to his boss. And he would shake his head and so would tell me, I don't know how you put up with him. And I'm like, I'm asking for help. And yet nobody did, until I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I left a job I loved because I couldn't tolerate the way I was being treated. And so it's like, no. And so sometimes we forget that we are all people and we need to treat people like people and catch ourselves when we don't. I did have, when I was in the call center, I had said, I don't know if it was the response, what I said, um, it was how I said it, not what I said, but how I said it to one of the staff. I don't know if it's that I said something or that I responded, but either way, the way I responded was not the most appropriate. My team lead came to me and said, Miss Gladys, usually when it was Miss Gladys, it's like, oh, it was usually there's been a mistake made. And this time it was about me. And she said, you hurt her feelings. And I was like, oh, didn't know, didn't realize it. Did not, usually I can catch myself. This time did not catch myself, did not realize it. And so I found a way to catch her that same day. And I apologized. I said, didn't realize it. I'm so sorry. And she looked at me and smiled and thanked me for apologizing. Sometimes that's all we need, is to acknowledge that we hurt their feelings, and then go, oh yeah, didn't realize it. But most of the time I can catch myself, and then as soon as I do it, it's like, oh yeah, that was my bad. Sorry. But yeah, we don't always know, and if we don't have somebody to tell us, because sometimes we don't. If we're in a smaller business, you have one employee, two employees, or you're remote. That's the other thing. If you're remote, you have no clue. How do you touch base with your staff if they're remote? What's your way of communicating? Or is it enough? Are they getting what they need from you or from me? It's sometimes it's a learning thing, because we're not used to having remote staff.
Yeah.
I'm not. I was always in person. So that, I did a lot of remote stuff, but I was in management. So I was doing the things, all the paperwork stuff outside of hours. So nobody cared so long as the work got done.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, there is a difference of being in person versus being remote, and then making adjustments to accommodate that. And I think that those are all really good suggestions. I wanted to go back to one more thing that we had talked about with budget-friendly motivation for your staff, and when it's tied to benefits. What are your top three that aren't free, but they're budget friendly, that you recommend to business owners to get real value, that supports their employees, drives engagement, and delivers better retention?
One of them, because sometimes I'm talking health insurance, which can be pricey, but then the next step down is dental insurance. Dental insurance can run $50 to $60 per employee per month. And if you give them the $50 to cover that, it's amazing how I have employees that may be on Medicaid, but they want the dental insurance. They're like, I want good insurance. So employees really appreciate dental insurance. It's amazing that I was like, they go gaga over the dental, whereas the medical, they're like, doesn't matter. So dental insurance is one that's very well appreciated. Another thing is a gym membership. A gym membership goes a long way, especially if there's a local gym. There's a couple of ways of doing that. You can either pay the gym directly for their membership, or you reimburse them through payroll. And because it's a reimbursement, it's non-taxable income to the employee, and it's a write-off for the employer, because that helps them stay healthy. And if it's close enough, maybe they'll go before work, maybe at lunchtime, maybe after work. So it's convenient. So the convenience makes a huge difference. The other thing that's also back tied to benefits is voluntary products. Your Aflac, your Colonials, your accident plan, hospital indemnity, cancer treatment, things of that nature, employees can use, because if they have health insurance, they can get reimbursed if they had an accident. That's the only thing is, if for an accident plan, it's a reimbursement for services received. Those usually run about $30. A hospital indemnity plan might be about $40. So very inexpensive. Group life insurance is so inexpensive. 50,000 can be like $10 a month for a group of 6 people, very inexpensive. So those are some of the things that are very easily tangible, that employees can have, that are very inexpensive. Up from that, of course, the health benefits, you don't have to pay 100%. You can do 50%. So if it's $600, you pay $300. the employee pays 300 pre-tax, which when you do the math, they're gonna feel maybe 250 on their paycheck per month. The employee has less payroll taxes. The employer has less payroll taxes. The employer also has the write-off of what they contribute. Plus, there's additional yearly taxes that they can take a credit on. So with less than $400, they can provide a good benefit package that the employees will have low cost. Those are some of the ones that just off the top of my head, I know that employees have appreciated and use.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just actually got Aflac started with our company.
Yay.
So, and it's that extra coverage that you get.
Yep.
So, this is such a fascinating conversation, Gladys. What's one thing that you recommend that our listeners can do this week? So, especially if they're a business owner or an executive, that they can start improving staff engagement, or you're an employee that you can ask for to improve staff.
Ask. They can just ask, what is important to you? Sometimes we don't ask, and employers are giving their staff things that they don't care. And so what do they care about? What do they talk about? What's important to them? That's part of the conversation when I'm talking to employers is, who is this for? Are you getting this because you as an owner needs it, you and your family, or are you getting it because you want it for your employees? So if it's for the employer, then it's like, okay, what are your needs? I tailor it around them, and this is what you also can offer your employees. So the employees will have the same access to what the employer has, but they also have other options. If it's for the employee, then my question is, what do they need? What are they asking for? Where are they going? What's their preferred hospital system? Who are the providers they're going to? Because if I know what is important to them, then I'm going to tailor it to what the employees need. So that's one thing they can ask is, hey, how important is dental insurance? If you could have it, would you like it? What about, do you want a gym membership? Is that important to you? People are like, gym membership? Are you kidding? It's like, I barely get out and walk, Well, what is important? Well, what about, the snacks? Is it okay if and sometimes all you have to do is bring in a few snacks, not a lot, just a few. You don't have to spend a lot. And do they graze? At 2:00 when they're like, still have 2 more hours to go or 3 more hours to go, are they picking up that snack in the break room? And sometimes just by doing those little things, but simply asking, and sometimes the employee they have to do is ask, hey, would you be willing to, or could you, or have you thought about X? And the employer would go, no, I hadn't thought about it. Is that important to you? Do you want that? Sometimes the employer is like, sure, let's do it. All because they asked. So I would say a 3-letter word, ask.
Yeah. Such good advice. And it's true for everything in life. If you don't ask, you don't get. But just find out and ask those questions. Guys, thank you so much for sharing 101 creative ways to keep your staff motivated and engaged. And I know that our listeners are going to want to know more about how they can connect with you and be able to have a conversation with you.
Absolutely. So there's a couple ways. One, you can go to my website, insurancedesignpros.com. In the upper left-hand corner, you can get the white paper that this book was the inspiration, or the white paper was the inspiration for this book. You can get the download. It'll just have the high level. But if you want to have a conversation with me, start the conversation, get on my calendar, go to enrollnoworegon.com. That's enrollnoworegon.com. And that's my calendar. It's a half hour, you can get on my calendar. We can have the conversation. If it's something I can do, I will absolutely do it. If it's something I can't do, I will either connect you with somebody who can, or give you the guidance on how to go about doing it. But let's start the conversation and we go from there.
All right. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Gladys. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I mean, this has been a really good discussion, and there are so many gems packed in here for brilliant ideas applying your business immediately. And Gladys, again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for your time, Lynn. Thank you to your audience for being here. This was fun.
Bye, everyone.